Welcome to Paul's Yard Walk. Welcome to Paul's Yard Walk for July, and it's a very nice day. So I thought we'd take a little walk around. And we had a wet winter, and then we've had some hot weather finally. We've had some hot weather the last few weeks, and we've had a couple of little showers, but not a lot of rain. Things are starting to dry up. It's having our typical July, I think. And so we'll take a walk around the yard and see what's blooming and what the different kind of fruiting plants are doing. And you can see there's this thing here, which is in a pot. It wants to be a shrub, but it's being trained to be a tree. It's got very nice papery orange flowers. I like it a lot. I forget what the name of it is. Didn't leave a label on it, but I like it quite a bit. So let's go take a walk. And we'll take a quick look here at the figs. This is July, so you can see, like here, this one has started to droop. But if I feel it, it's still rock hard. So it'll probably be another month yet before they're ready to harvest. But we're going to have, it looks like, unless something bad happens, looks like we're going to get a pretty good crop this year. The big tree has got quite a few. The Turkish brown doesn't have any. This is the one here that I moved from back in the shade. I moved it out here to where it gets a little more sun. And it's doing quite well for being transplanted. It has one fig there. And this tree back here is doing pretty good, but I don't think it's got any figs on it this year. But the big tree has quite a few. So that's good. Crocosmia starting to bloom. This is one of those, I must have planted this like 10 years ago and just forget it, and it just keeps coming back year after year. And it's nice because in the summertime, this time of year, it gives a nice bright color. There's a bee actually working this little flower. This is a survivor. I think it's growing out of the rock wall. But the crocosmia is the red stuff here. That's just what I was talking about. There's some daisies, some wild or released daisies there too. Remember the story of little Frida here. This is where the barberry used to be, and I'll go back in the backyard and show you the barberry now. It's amazing. But this is little Frida, and she's grown quite a bit. And as you can see, she's got some nice flowers. Now I think, as I recall from reading the label, that these were supposed to be attractive to bees or hummingbirds or something. Don't see too much activity on her right now. There goes a big yellow butterfly up there. This is that evergreen. This guy here, this ornamental, got shaded out by the barberry, and that's why this bottom is so sparse. But now that the barberry's gone and it's getting some sun, there's actually some growth coming in. Like I said, I think I said on a previous video, here in a couple of years that'll probably fill in, and it'll look a little better. It looks a little top-heavy right now. These are some lilies that I forgot that I had planted. They're very colorful, very pretty. Kathy's favorite color. And then down here, there's a couple. These are the fall blooming dahlias. Is that right? No. Shoot. The fall blooming bulbs. They're starting to come up there now. And this snowberry here is doing too well. I had to cut it back a little bit. This is Manny the Manzanita here, and he's doing pretty good. He's grown quite a bit here this year. He'll get a lot taller. He'll outgrow this snowberry that he's next to. But I have to keep the snowberry trimmed back so that it doesn't crowd him out too much. As you recall, in an episode years ago, I pointed out that there's two members of this family. This is a manzanita. The other manzanita is the kinnikinnick, which is a low-growing ground cover that covers much of the Rocky Mountain West, or is very native to pretty much everywhere in the western U.S., I guess. Got a pretty good crop of Mahonia, the so-called Oregon grape, this year. That's what these bluish berries here are. They're edible. They're not. I usually don't pick them. I leave them for the birds. There's probably some more. Yeah, something's been at this one. I think or they've fallen off because there's some gaps there. And how about this Mahonia back here? Oh yeah, this one's got. Or are these dried up from last year? No, those are this year's. This one has deeper. The berries here are deeper purple. The other ones have more of a bluish purple color. But it's a good year. We had pretty good. Well, we had a lot of rain last winter, and we've had a few showers this summer, so things are doing pretty well. Apparently it was a good year for Mahonia in my yard this year. Looks like I had a bear come through here. I think this might be bear poop. Looks like it's got some berries and stuff in it. It doesn't look like it's too big for a raccoon, and doesn't look like deer. Must have been a bear through here. This is a Hicks yew that I planted a long time ago. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a native. It's in the shade. I had actually at one time I had moved it. I planted this yew here before the western hemlock tree next to it was even in the ground. And the reason it's there is if I'm sitting on the front porch of our house down there, and I'm looking up the hill here, there's one of the neighbors' houses there through the trees. So I planted this Hicks yew here to block the view, and then later we had this hemlock tree that I planted in here, and the hemlock is doing a great job. The yew is getting kind of. I have to come in here maybe and cut back. Everything's growing so well this year. I got to do some cutting. Cut back some of these hemlock branches a little bit so the yew just gets enough light. But it's doing a nice job of spreading out there, looking pretty. Over here on this island at the top of our yard is an old wheelbarrow that used to belong to my mother-in-law, Irene, and the bottom had rusted out years ago. So I put a piece of chicken wire in the bottom of it and filled it with soil, and had planted various things in it over the year, but now I'm just kind of ignoring it. There's a nice ground cover here which has got, I don't even know what kind of ground cover it is, but it's got these nice green and white leaves. It's got some nice little flowers. I have to come up here with a water can every week or so if there's no rain, and I dumped some water into here I think yesterday. Let me see how it's doing. Yeah, if I feel down in here, it feels a little bit dampish, so it's in fine shape. But this is right here at the top of the hill, so when you come in to our yard, you see the sign that I put up years ago with the 2 house numbers, so that the people come in here looking for our neighbor, and they see our house, and they don't see the neighbor's house, which is back in there. And so we get delivery guys sometimes trying to deliver stuff, even though our house number is on the front of our house. So I put this sign up here to kind of direct them down. And then you see this wheelbarrow, which is getting kind of covered up now with the salal. This is salal here, which I've talked about many times. It's a native ground cover. It gets edible berries too, and I have quite a bit of it over on the other side of the yard. I did come up here and hack the ground cover, the grass and stuff back at one point. This is one of the 2 kinds of ferns that we have here. I don't know what this one's called, but this one has, I'm going to say it's more of a fractal shaped leaf, where you get the big leaf, and then the medium sized leaf and the small leaf, and they're all kind of the same pattern over and over. The other one is more of a, I'm going to call it this might be deer fern or it might be sword fern. I forget which is which, but the other one we have is more of a sword fern, and I've got some of those out in the backyard. We'll go look at those here in a minute. Bank here has salal on it, and here now in July the berries are just starting they'll turn a much darker color. They're nowhere near ripe. They're just barely starting now. I think these are the thimbleberries. I think they have the bigger flower, and these are still green, so it's hard to tell. But I think these berries are the thimbleberries, and the other ones are the salmonberries, or it could be the other way around. They're both native berries. They're both soft fruit and a little bland, but quite edible. Not sure what this guy is. This pretty red berry here. Getting a lot of berries, whatever it is. I may have to come in here and hack it back. I don't know what it. Like I said, I don't know what that is. Good year for hydrangeas. Being wet, hydrangeas like shade, and they like a little moisture. They don't like it real dry. And these aren't wilting, so they've still got enough. We've had some warm temperatures, but not too bad. Over here, these are the 3 pots where I put potatoes as an experiment this year, and some of them are starting to fall over. They got too tall. It's almost like I should have had. These are pretty tall buckets. They come up almost to my knee, but they're like the tallest ones I could find. But I probably should have even tried to find taller ones. I know some people use tires and stack up old tires, but I didn't want to have a bunch of old tires in my yard because they hold water and attract mosquitoes, and I also didn't feel like eating food that had come out of a tire. So I'm using these pots, and we'll see. They haven't started to get fruit yet, so I'm pretty sure they're not ready. As I recall, this seed, when I bought the seed potatoes from the nursery, they said 88 days or something was the time. So probably sometime next month, maybe I'll be able to harvest them. This is the Indian plum that I planted this year, and I've had to give it some supplemental water, as I talked about, and it's doing pretty well. Eventually, when it gets taller, my plan is to layer it and get more. I think what happens when I harvest the potatoes, I'll add the soil to this area in here, and then I'll maybe try to get the plum to grow along there, and I'll try the potato thing again next year if it works. And here's the barberry that I talked about. This, when I brought this out of the front yard, this was bare root, and it was completely cut back, so it had no leaves. It was just a stump, just a multifaceted stump. And as you can see, it's coming back quite handily. So I basically dug a little hole and stuck it in the dirt, gave it a little water, and away it went. So if you want a plant that's real tough, that's hard to kill, it's evergreen, and it has nasty thorns. These branches are too young to have the real nasty thorns yet, but they'll get them. There's I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a thorn. There's some thorns right there. Then this one here is it's a plant for you. If that's what you want. I'm going to have to come in here and thin these, because they're kind of growing a little bit too thick now, actually. Maybe I'll wait till toward winter. Okay, speaking of ferns, this is the kind I was talking about. You can see how the leaf structure on it is. And then this is the other kind that we have common. We have at least 2 species. I think in the Northwest there's 5 or 6 species, but here on our property, I only think we have 2. We might have more, but you can see how this one is structured. It's quite different. They're kind of mixed in here, the 2 different kinds. These ferns are native and they naturalize, and I have never planted a fern. I may have transplanted a fern once or twice, but I've never purposely planted a fern. They just kind of take over, and if you want to get rid of one, it's kind of hard because they have a nice solid little root mass there at the bottom. They're easy to take in with a trimmer and cut them back to the ground, but then to dig them out is a little bit of a pain. The backyard clematis is starting to bloom. It's just, these are the first flowers that are coming out. And you can see there's quite a few buds that haven't opened yet. It usually gets covered, and it's going to be, looks like this year, with these nice purple flowers. And it gives a nice, this is, and I cut it back, this is the one I've talked about many times. I cut it back in the winter every year. So this is all new growth from this spring. This is all this year's growth that we're looking at here. So it grows pretty fast. They like to have their feet cool. If you can find a place where this is why this one does so well here, where the roots are shaded. They like that. They take a little water, but they really like to keep their roots in the shade if you can, and then the leaves in the sun. So you have to try to find a spot like that in your